All right, Connor, you want to go first? You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Connor Wenderlich. I will be a senior this year, and I'm an accounting major.
My name is Joseph Bradford. I'm also going to be a senior this year, and I'm a accounting major with a finance minor. Um, so the article that we were assigned regarded around how lenders are reacting to lending out money to companies that are going to be receiving a heavy blow from the pandemic. It's taken a toll a lot on companies. So CFOs are asking lenders to be more lenient on some financial requirements related to loan terms due to the pandemic. Hundreds of public companies are pursuing waivers or amendments to existing loan agreements. What that means is they're asking like the lenders to forgive or to extend loan agreements to like 2021 for June. That for one company we read about. Covenant protections have weakened against in the last decade, which is really bad for now. What covenant protections are basically just like agreements between the lender and borrower. And what has happened in like the past decade is the protections have really favored the lender instead of the borrower. And I mean, as you can see, like after the 2008 financial crisis, that's the trend that has followed from that. Companies, therefore, are looking to include measures taken to contend with the pandemic and be included with non-reoccurring expenses. What that means is like they want to do like one-time expenses towards the pandemic, whether they have to buy protection gear and include that on their balance sheet. But contracts have limits on the amount of expenses that can be added back, however. So that's really where.
Let's just, when you say financial requirements related to loan terms, could you maybe give an example of that?
So I know like one example is like I believe that like they might require a company to keep a certain debt to equity ratio or keep a certain amount of cash on hand.
Okay, so good. So debt to equity ratio and maybe cash on hand. What else would throw in there?
How the company is leveraged.
Leverage?
Like that.
Okay.
So like if they're, what we saw in like the financial crisis, companies were leveraged like 40 to 1, which was pretty terrible as we saw.
Okay.
When it went under.
Okay. What other ones did John, Andrew, and Jake have in Project 2? Which ratios did you look at that might be applicable here? Think Project 2 ratios.
The average cost of capital.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the debt to equities one as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Working capital?
Oh, yeah. I guess that's a
Yeah. Fixed charge coverage?
Oh, yeah, the interest coverage ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Interest coverage ratio? Yeah, so you got all these things. Now, why do you think the bank actually put those in the agreement?
It like it forces the borrower to maintain a certain level of responsibility, so they can't, once they pass the credit check and they get the loan, they can't do whatever they want and put the lender at risk.
Put the lender at risk. Why? What kind of risk would a lender have?
Not getting their money back.
Right, not getting paid. So they put these in. Okay, so now what can we conclude if they're asking for waivers?
That they probably don't have the money, or they are getting put in a certain position that's forcing them to fail these covenants that typically protect the lender.
Right, because they're not going to be able to meet the covenants. And what happens if you don't meet covenants on loan?
You have to sometimes you'd have to pay back early or pay fees or penalties.
What else?
The lender might be entitled to some of your assets.
Yes. Seize assets, sure. Could also declare you're in default and demand payment.
And it would ruin your credit rating.
Not only your credit rating, but if you need all these waivers, do you think you have the cash to even pay it off?
No.
So what's going to happen then? So you got to get these waivers. If you don't have the waivers, you could become in default. And in default, they could go collect, they could sell your assets. That could kill you.
Yeah, we're seeing that with Hertz right now, the car rental company.
Perfect example there.
So, anybody else got any more questions? I'm going to move on to the next slide.
See how this works now?
Mm-hmm.
Because I bet you some of you guys didn't know what some of those waivers were, did you?
No.
Now you do?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Go ahead.
This is just a table of contents of what's coming up in the presentation. And Connor, you got this one?
Yep. So the first piece of this article we're going to be covering is just some strategies that are being employed by companies to like manage all the financial stress they're taking on. And as we just discussed, a lot of companies are being granted waivers for their covenants, which is huge for the borrowers, but it's putting lenders in a tricky situation because the covenants are getting much weaker and they're losing out on some bargaining power they have. So, and even financial institutions are being forgiving towards just consumer loans. Like many banks and credit unions nowadays are granting like skip a month's payment or skip a few months payments and allow them to tack it on at the end of the mortgage. Another strategy is
They still have to pay it back.
Right. Yeah. It's not a 3 months payment. It just gets moved to the end of the.
So it's just pushing things further out.
Right.
And hoping the problem goes away.
Yeah. So,
okay.
which can be good for some people if they're just falling on hard times and they have full intention to pay it back. But
what did you say, Connor? Full intention?
I said fall on hard times.
Okay.
And if they have the intention to pay it back, but I think what's happening, at least in the case of like renters during this pandemic, many renters think because renters can't be evicted right now. I've been reading of cases where renters are just not paying because they can't be evicted, but they don't understand that they still owe the money. So,
right. So if I'm a renter and say I make all of $25,000 a year, just to put it in a context, and I haven't paid rent for 3 months, and I haven't worked in 3 months, what would you do when you get your job back and the landlord wants the money? What would you do?
Well, you could start working out some sort of payment plan with the.
Okay. Jake, what could you do?
Oh, I mean, you said it, like, work out a payment plan.
What else could you do? Andrew?
I'm not sure.
What are your options?
Move to a cheaper apartment.
Move. Yeah. Move. If you move, do you think you'd ever pay the guy back?
Probably not.
Probably not. So if you don't pay the guy back, what happens to the guy and his ability to pay the mortgage?
He struggles.
He's going to struggle. Yeah. See how it's tying all together?
Right.
Good.
So another strategy companies are employing is just sending their employees home. We've all pretty much experienced this with the quarantine, that if companies have employees at home, they're less likely to get the whole office sick. But that also forces companies to lose some money because like restaurants are really struggling right now. And then other things companies are doing are they need to closely monitor their costs and their cash flows and how much of a hit are they taking in order to begin budgeting to make sure they can stabilize and survive the pandemic.
So they really got to understand their numbers.
Right.
No different than what you had to do when you're doing project 1, 2, and 3, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Joe, that's it for this one if you want to.
All right, moving on. This is me, Howard Banks, responding to requests for assistance from their clients. The problem is, in this uncertain time when banks lend money to firms, how can they expect to they loan to repay the loan? No one knows the true financial damage COVID-19 will have on the economy in the future. And the response is banks are exercising more caution when lending, and if your company isn't expected to survive the pandemic, they aren't receiving loans unless they're essential. Banks are also performing like more tests to see if you're liquid or if you can even pay back the loans in the first place. I know for Hertz, they filed for bankruptcy on May 22nd when one of their competitors was granted waivers till June of 2021. And I mean, you guys have been seeing what's happening with Hertz.
Has everybody seen that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to the next slide. This is you, Connor.
Okay, so these companies are starting to find themselves in, quote, uncharted territory because, I mean, the covenant packages have been getting weaker in the last decade, and then now with this pandemic, those two variables combined, lenders are really kind of lost much of their bargaining power. So as we've talked, that without this bargaining power, it like really puts lenders in a risky situation. The Moody's report in 2019 said that the protections are remaining stubbornly weak, and they're showing no sign of improving in 2019. And in 2020, they haven't gotten any better, especially with the COVID pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then what is EBITDA and why is the definition so important in the context of credit agreements? So EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Why is it such an important calculation? It is the measure of a company's overall financial performance. The calculation is able to show earnings before the influence of accounting and financial deductions. Simply, EBITDA is a measure of profitability by excluding expenses, which companies can use to bolster up their earnings or assets. Companies tend to highlight the EBITDA if their net income is under pressure or even negative. And it can be a red flag if a company starts highlighting EBITDA when it hasn't done so in the past. This calculation can be used by investors and also banks and lenders to evaluate the financial health of a company. Moving on, this is one way to calculate EBITDA. So just pretty simple calculation. You just got to find the numbers in the balance sheet and income statement. And then this is the second way to calculate it. It's using the income statement and the cash flow statement.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And then this is our works cited.
What did you guys learn from doing this, Connor, Joseph?
I definitely learned what kind of tools lenders can use for protecting themselves when lending money. I guess I never had known how many different forms of covenants out there that companies can use to protect their money.
Joe?
What I learned this is lenders have learned a lot from the 2008 financial crisis. And
let's go back to the one that happened in 2001, 1998, 1994, and 1987.
I don't know. Well, I mean, there wasn't that much money in the world compared to now.
True.
During those times, was there? Or was there a lot? I don't know.
different. Every time people have learned from it, but still the greed to make loans and grow continues to be that common thread. You get a period of excitement where everybody wants to make loans, and then you have a slowdown, and then all of a sudden everybody becomes worried about things like covenants and guarantees.
So it's more of like a trend in phases in a way.
Yeah, we probably could do a graph that would show this, bad situation, put rules into effect, didn't grow business, growing business, change rules. Same thing, up and down.
So if we were living during the Reagan administration, during that time, we would be seeing very loose regulations in a way.
Remember, the regulation of the banks have to. Reagan was,
or like protections or caution in a way. I'm sorry.
It's not necessarily the regulations; it's what banks did in a series of assumptions that they made.
Okay.
Okay, and sometimes, a lot of times, people got compensated based on how many loans they made. Okay, and you would have a goal. So you had to do 100 million of loans. So if you were trying to do 100 million of loans, and the only way you're going to get the loan is if I didn't want a personal get corporations, this happens in more in small and medium-sized companies, is they want the loans to be guaranteed by the owners.
Okay.
Okay. So say I wanted a piece of property, I'll give you the property. And you'll say, no, I want your personal guarantee that if the company doesn't pay and we sell the asset, like the building, and there's still not enough money, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that means you bring me as an individual in and not the corporation. Well, what they would do to get the loan, I would come to you and say, oh, ABC Bank doesn't want my guarantee. You want my business, you got to drop the guarantee.
Okay.
So all of a sudden you weaken the credit. And then when that big tenant went belly up that's in that building and there was no money to pay, the bank got stuck.
Yeah.
So John, Andrew, Jake, 2 questions for each one of you. After seeing this, what did you learn and what are you going to put into your presentation as a result of this?
I learned what a covenant was.
Okay, good.
That was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you mean? What do you mean put into our present? Like,
So when you go to do your presentation, after seeing this, what are you going to focus on?
maybe go slower and not try and rush through it, I guess.
Okay.
So if anyone has any questions?
Okay.
Yeah,
Jake?
I learned that.
Maybe we could reference some of the things that was said in this presentation for the financial planning aspect
Okay.
of our presentation.
Okay. Andrew.
I learned more about like the covenants and how owners can like protect themselves.
Okay.
I wasn't too sure about that.
So you've actually seen how the ratios that you computed and we talked about are used.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Other questions?